Welcome to the Zebra Family channel. If you have not subscribed, please click the like button, share and subscribe. It's free. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are around the world. This is Zebra Family channel. If you have not subscribed, please don't forget to subscribe. I have listened to Solly Mapaila, Lindiwe Sisulu, Stian Hazel for DA, and Helen Zille. They've got different views about who should work with the ANC. As much as they've got views, and there is a fear that is instilled to South Africans about other political organizations, and it makes me wonder why Helen Zille and Stian Hazel, they feel that they are organizations that wants to save the purpose of black people in South Africa, but bezwa ngathi bona angeke kubalungele, and banalento yoku-portray some other organizations in a light of putting fear, instilling fear to the majority of South Africa that if EFF work with ANC, the economy will crash. That kind of fear that they apply is the fear during apartheid that was applied if ANC take over. There was a lot of tension, but now that ANC has been in power, has lost power now, they have to share power with other organizations. But this DA has an audacity to talk bad about the other organizations. That makes everybody think twice, because they are from the apartheid regime. Ubandlululo lusesekhona in South Africa even today. So it doesn't make sense.
Support any idea to try and work with these forces. They are anti-people forces. We will work with the people's camp. In the same vein, the SSCP is seeking a coalition arrangement with other parties in which the ANC can consolidate a minority government with some features of the GNU, but largely this GNU should not exclude these neoliberal forces headed by the DA. The neoliberal economic restructuring, for instance, should not include the neoliberal forces headed by the DA. This is very important. Let me repeat it because I see I mispronounced it. We support the minority government with GNU features, that is Government of National Unity features, without the role and participation of DA-led forces. So we're clear about our anti-capitalist trajectory. The problems we face in this country is because we have pursued over the years and have been beholden to the interest of capital, who have always threatened us about the stability of our economy, when they've actually destroyed our economy to an extent that it has become an anti-people economy under capitalism. So equally, we are saying that neoliberal economic restructuring, which includes retrenchment, and even those announced during the May 2024 elections campaign period in the mining and other sectors included, should be rejected, because the DA continue to support these measures. They have continued to attack, for instance, the national minimum wage and to attack collective bargaining. And they've resisted even the implementation on the introduction of the national health insurance. Of course, all of this have severely impacted the workers and impoverished our country, and these forces remain arrogant and anti-working class, as represented by their continued reckless utterances. And therefore, the industrial scale looting under state capture further crippled many of our state-owned companies, public entities and financial resources negatively impacting the capacity of our state to serve the people.
The DA would be catastrophic for all the efforts that have been made to transform the country. What are your views on that?
Because basically we are so ideologically at variance with the DA. I cannot imagine how it would be for us now, with all the problems that we have, be able to take the country forward, having to drag along people that are not, they don't have the same issues on their shoulders as we do. We have been in government for a very long time. The electorate has punished us over and over because we have not been able to deliver on the things that they need most and on the things that we have promised them. We would need at this point to very seriously take on a partner or partners that will help us deliver on the promises that we have made since God knows when, 1994. But I want to take you back some time in history of this country when we had a situation where we felt that perhaps the best way forward would be to have a government of national unity. We brought in the Democratic, the party, the National Party, and ourselves, and we formed a government. And for the first 2, 3, 4 months, it seemed like we would be able to cover the responsibilities that each one of us were committed to. But halfway through that, and I applaud the National Party for having taken this decision. The National Party sat down and said to us as a government, look, we are at such variance ideologically. We have different constituencies to deliver to. We've made promises to our constituencies, which we will not be able to deliver on. This relationship is not going to take us anywhere, and we would like to withdraw. We were shocked because at that particular time, we had not gone into the entrails of delivery and how it affects people on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
And we agreed, and they took the decision and they left. And I applaud them for that. It was an honest decision. It was the kind of decision that was driven by a conscience that they're not delivering for their people. Mm-hmm. Here we are with the national ANC, with the ANC. Possibly we will need partners, but we need partners who are ideologically linked to our own ideology. Partners who will be able to deliver on that which we've promised our people.
Yeah.
No one is further from that than the DA. Why would we go for the one party that is completely at variance with what we believe in?
Yeah.
You look at the Western Cape and tell me what it is that the Western Cape has done to change the lives of our people. Maybe the same can be said for very many other parts of the country, but specifically the difference in delivery and the difference in the way that government has responded to a people is glaring. You drive down the road from Parliament to the airport, and you'll be able to see the shacks on one side or whatever it is. Nothing has changed for our people in the Western Cape.
What about a partnership where the DA occupies key positions in Parliament and still allows the ANC to be the executive? It doesn't compromise on the party's policies. You still have space as the ANC to do your work as the executive, but they hold you accountable in Parliament by occupying some key positions there.
What key position are we talking about?
The position of Speaker. It could be the position of chairs of different committees in Parliament.
Why do we need to be monitored? Why do we need to be monitored? The system that we have right now works very perfectly. We have our own system in which we account to our people what it is that we're doing and what it is that we're not doing. We don't need a class monitor from the DA. Why would we take one party that is so ideologically at odds with ourselves? What has the DA done to show that they're concerned about the plight of, let's just put together a few of the things that they have opposed us on, that NHI just very recently, and you can go on and on, because they have a privileged background that they can fall back on. We have years and years of underprivileged people that we have to cover for. Why would we choose a DA?
So here's the conundrum here, Mr. Sulu. The problem is, as the ANC, you don't have the majority government like you used to, where you can be in control of the executive and be in control of parliament. You've got to choose at some point what you're willing to compromise on, because the voters in this country have said 40% is what you deserve. And that's not enough for you to be control of the executive and still want to occupy all the key positions in parliament. So what are you willing to compromise on?
We're willing to compromise on many things, but we're not willing to compromise on the DA agenda. We have many black parties in parliament, and together we're able to form the necessary majority that is required by the Constitution.
Which other parties do you think would be best suitable to go into coalition with the ANC?
Well, we could take many of the other black parties that are there, because they cover a wide spectrum of people that we're responsible for. Why don't we take, say, the IFP? No. Why don't we take the newly formed
MK party?
MK? Why don't we take any of the others? Why would we go for the DA? What puzzles me is we're just so ideologically at odds with each other. It just hasn't worked. And I've given you an example where a government has not been able to work, and a decision was taken that those who are not in a position to continue with the ANC ideology have withdrawn. Why should we repeat something that we have learned something from? We have very little in common with the DA. And the DA has insidiously, over time, tried to implant their own ideas into how we relate to our people. I'll take an example of a time when the president gave a speech in parliament. It was the opening of parliament, and for 2 or 3 paragraphs, he seemed to be quoting the DA. There was an uproar. Afterwards, the DA comes out and says, "We're terribly sorry. We gave the president our constitution so that he can consider it, and we don't know how it worked out like this. Maybe there was a confusion." There was no confusion. It was deliberate. It was deliberate. They have been insidiously trying to get into the ANC and see how they can control government through the ANC. And you can see how they're putting themselves out. Yeah. There are many other black parties about any other possibilities that would find us in a situation where we can deal with our people which have been waiting for our delivery. Yeah. What I am dealing with now is DA is not a suitable partner. Their ideology, their intention, their whole international perspective, everything about them is at variance with ourselves. Mm-hmm. Why would we choose the DA? Let me also go beyond the domestic terrain. You know, the African National Congress has occupied a very important international space in our international relations. And this comes from the fact that we come from a background where we did form relationships with various countries who assisted us to be where we are. We have a solid base for that in BRICS. Explain to me what the place of the DA would be in BRICS. What is the relationship that the BRICS would want us to have with many of the other countries that we have relations with, that we've built relations with? What is the DA's relationship going to be to our relations with the Palestinian people? What is the DA's response going to be with our very strong relationship with Russia, with our very strong relationship with China? I could go on and on. Why would we want to reinvent what we have done over the past 20-something years? Yeah. Where we've been successful, we would like to continue. And we don't want to be held back by people who don't think the same way as we do. Ideology is absolutely important in what you do in a government, because that is what you sell to the people when you are out there campaigning. We did not say to our people, we're going to join the DA, come and vote with us, we're going to join the DA. That's not what we said. We said to deliver on all the things that we have not yet delivered on. We're going to deliver on the NHI, we're going to deliver on various other things that we have promised them, and we still haven't promised them. You want us to add on a baggage of people who don't think the way we do think? It's going to take us another 2 years to break through, to come together and have a common understanding of how we're going to take the country forward.
Where the ANC loses its majority and the MPC falls short. At the time, I said that if the scenario materializes, and I quote, the DA will make it our number one priority and do absolutely everything in our power to prevent an ANC-EFF doomsday coalition from taking power, unquote. In the 14 months since I spoke those words, the rise of the MK party has only added urgency now to that commitment. The reality is that the DA is the only party that foresaw this risk and spoke openly and honestly with voters about it. And so it has now come to pass. Based on current projections, a combination of the ANC, the EFF and MK have the numbers to take power nationally, as well as in KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng. The bottom line is that collectively, they have the numbers to take power, whilst the multi-party charter does not. This is of course not the outcome that we wanted, but it is the outcome that we must now deal with. The DA will not bury our heads in the sand. We will face up to this challenge, for that is the task of leadership. All through the election, the Democratic Alliance undertook to rescue South Africa from the Doomsday Coalition. And we will now do our level best to do exactly that. We will do so not only for the people who voted for us, but for the people of South Africa.
The thing for people to realize is that we need to consolidate the votes. The DA is the party of the rational centre, the non-racial rational centre. And if we want South Africa to work, and I have studied this so carefully, if we want South Africa to work, we have to follow policies of equal rights, of non-racialism, of the rule of law, of a social market economy that can grow this economy and attract capital and skills. That is what we need. And we want South Africa to work. We need to consolidate the vote around a party that has the capacity and the government experience to make it work.
There's some who say it's not only the DA that can bring that to the table. There are other parties who can do exactly that.
Who?
Action SA, Mzansi, and the ANC.
Where?
There's some who make a solid argument
Where?
to say there are some people that can actually do that within
Making an argument and actually doing it are two fundamentally different things. Never ever believe.
EFF.
If EFF comes into power,
Yeah.
South Africa's rand will crash through the floor.
What will cause that?
What will cause that is that the economy will completely lose confidence in the future. When investors say there's no future in South Africa, they pull out all their money. The rand crashes. No one wants the rand anymore. No demand on the rand anymore.
But how could you say that with such confidence, and yet you don't know? You don't know the type of president Julius and Floyd would be.
I can tell you. Perhaps what we need is Julius and Floyd and whatever to become part of government in a province. One province. To see what happens to that poor province. Just one.
I'm still curious to know why you would say a statement like that with such confidence.
Well, I do, because I know what kind of systems in a democracy lead to prosperity. We don't have to reinvent the wheel in South Africa. We don't have to start experiments. We know from history. We know from all over the world what works for the poor and what doesn't in a democracy. Of course, you can have economic growth in an authoritarian state like China, but we've chosen a democracy. And if you want to have a democracy, the only way you can grow the economy and get jobs is through a market system. Will completely collapse the economy and turn us into a totalitarian state. We know that. That's why I'm confident to say that.
China is different, though, when you said it.
China is an authoritarian state. There's no democracy there. We've chosen democracy. So if you choose democracy first, then you can only make it work with a market economy. You cannot have the party controlling the state and the state controlling society.
let's talk about this. Let's put our opinion, listening to each and every leader that has spoken here. Then you put up your opinion. What do you think about what they have said? Do you think ANC working with DA will be good, or EFF working with DA will be good, or ANC working with MK will be good, or whichever party you think? Let's do it respectfully, and let's not forget to like, share, and subscribe. I love you all. Bravo, bravo.